Okay, guys, it's 7:03. Let's go ahead and get started. Greetings once again to everybody. This is our third lecture of the year. This lecture here developed out of our first lecture where Nana Sapong was talking about Agogo, and one of the questions that came out about was how his father met Nana Naniao Paradini Zulu. So we were going back and forth and like trying to get some of these answers. And as a result, we found a whole lot of information and come to find out that again, Agogo has the Gogo Heni, which is his father, has a major influence in a comb practices here or a comb in general here in America. And this lecture here is actually a continuation of that in terms of answering some of those other questions that we didn't have answers to. So with that said, again, I'd like to welcome everyone here. Nana Sapong is going to take over and do his thing in reference to this particular talk. So, and the title of this is how Asante Chieftaincy came to the U.S. So, Nana Samwa, it's all yours, bro.
Greetings, greetings. Once again, my name is Nayao Samuel Koko Sapong. I am the son of Nana Kwame Koko Sapong, who's the Oman Hene of Agogo. As some of you may or may not know, Nana Paradin Zulu, Naniao Paradin Zulu was a Samoa Hene of Agogo. That was a position specifically created for him. He was a divisional chief, responsible for bringing the Akans of America more so into the Ashanti culture and making them a part of Agogo. A lot of people who traveled with him to Agogo were made honorary citizens of Agogo. And thus being that not just those people who went, but Akans in America, anybody in the diaspora, anybody who goes to Agogo, if they want to buy land or start a farm, the prices are very friendly. And anybody who buys land, if you don't know, in Ghana, if you're not a citizen, your land lease is for 50 years with the option to renew. But if you're part of the diaspora, if you go to Agogo, anybody from the Akans of America will receive the full 99 years with the option to renew as a gesture to say that the Akans of America are indeed family members or citizens, honorary citizens of Agogo. Let me start my presentation. Second. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, great. This whole thing started with, I forgot who asked in the last presentation, how did Nana Zulu meet my father? And I didn't know, which is ironically how I came about and how I was conceived, because my mother met my father through Denizulu around that same time, around 1982, 83. I'm dating myself, but I was born in 85. And not only just Nana Yao Paradini Zulu Sheikh Sheikh is also a divisional chief of Agogo. He sits on the Epo stool, and is actually the representative of American Chiefs for Ghana, if I'm not mistaken. And there's a few other divisional chiefs here from Agogo, part of the Ashanti Nation in Philadelphia, Louisiana. Previously, Dr. Patricia Ann Newton was the Dompian Henny for Agogo before she passed in 2020. And currently, Professor James Small is a divisional chief as well as Dr. Lyndon Jeffries. So, yeah, it's a bigger nation than what I expected. It was a bigger thing than I expected, but I'm gonna go move forward. It's a little meaty. Bear with me. It's an A story, there's a B story, there's a C story, but it all lands all on one point and one footing. So just bear with me. Um, so again, so obviously, the first slide is how. Okay, here we go. A little about me. I'm the son of Nana Kwame Akuku Sapong, current Oman Henny of Agogo, and my mother is Nana Aba Oshunmi Afolabi Sapong, who's one of the first, if not the first, Yoruba Khan priest in America. I myself, I was installed as an official royal family member of Agogo in 1986. I don't have an official title. I was a child. I was newborn. It was part of spiritual work that was designated to me specifically. And I received a stool. They sat me on a stool during my outdooring, which I wanted to talk to. I'm going to bring up what happened to my stool afterwards. I think it's a very important story as well. So as we move forward and as we conclude, I'll tell you what happened with that. I think it's a lesson that a lot of people should learn from. Um, yeah. So to start with chieftaincy, chieftaincy in Ghana was established primarily to create a system of governance, maintain social order, and foster development. It evolved from pre-colonial times as a way to ensure cooperation, peace, and security, with chiefs playing a central role in resource management, dispute resolution. Chieftaincy also served as a vehicle for social, political, religious, and economic development, particularly in rural communities. Right. So a regular chief is considered a political and religious title. A chief is supposed to be a representation of Nana Noom and Esamafo on earth. Uh, that's what I heard from one of my mentors, Nana Kofi Tuda, who was the Nkombongeni of Agogo. As far as an Ashanti Omanheni, right? In the Ashanti region, a paramount chief, they are in charge of the land in the major district. They also designate and still other chiefs to handle vital positions. In the Ashanti region, mostly, they often swear an oath to the Ashanti Annie after they're installed in their local town as well. Certain paramount chiefs sit either to the left or the right to the Ashanti Annie during assemblies. So this is what the
Oh,
map. Sorry,
excuse me. Can you go back to that last slide?
sure. Obviously, is my father on the right
Right.
during his
So
time.
so so what is this representing in terms of this thing? And then what's in his mouth? What is all this supposed to represent?
Oh, that is a talisman in his mouth. I'm sure he's in state. I'm not sure where this picture is from. I got this picture from. He's working on his memoir right now, so these are like photos of like his beginnings of him being like installed and things of that nature.
So do you know what year this picture was about then in terms of when it was
This
taken?
has to be probably the 75 or 76, 1975, 76.
Okay.
Yeah. That's him being like in state in his mode, as they say. And here's a map of the Ashanti region. I won't go through all of these. You could easily find this online, but it's just a map of what the Ashanti region is. And here
So
is,
these are districts in terms of what you're saying. So these are like be like counties, I guess.
well, these are regions. For instance, in the Ashanti Akim North, Agogo's in here in the Ashanti Akim North.
Okay.
Domia Bra, I think a Jesu, I think so. But there's a few other, there's multiple towns and city states within each region of the these districts, so to speak. All right, everybody good? Saw this? We
Yeah,
good?
yeah, go ahead. Mhm.
So this is a an example of the Ashanti Henny having one of his assemblies. It's one of a screenshot of one of his brochures. It's not the full one. For example, you can see how they have it set up, where the Ashanti Henny sits here, the Ashanti Hema sits to his left, and then the multiple um, Oman Henny sits to his left, and the other certain other Oman Henny sit to his right, depending on the circumstances. This is how it's normally um, it's how it's normally seated as when they assemble. And at the bottom, you go to see what includes the Ashanti region, the entire Ashanti region, the Alpha region, the part of the Bono region, part of Bono East, part of Eastern region, part of the OT region, all is in part encompasses part of the Ashanti Empire.
All right,
Uh,
so let me ask you on this question. So these are paramount chiefs. These aren't Oman Henny. So the
no,
Oman
these aren't
yeah,
Oman Henneys. These are Oman Henneys. Oman
these
Henneys
are
is part.
Oman Hennies.
Yes, there's a list of them. Not it's not the full list, but these are, if not most, these are most of the Oman Henneys of in the Ashanti region.
Okay.
And they also sit upon, based upon ranking, different stools or different paramount chiefs have different rankings and things like that. And it all varies. For instance, in the previous presentation, the Agogo Henny normally sits next left to the Ashanti Henny. That's because due to so many years of loyalty, the Ashanti, the Agogo Henny has showed the Ashanti Henny that Ashanti Henny keeps the Agogo Henny very close. Um, Pretty much all the wars that the Ashanti Henny has fought, the Agogo Henny has previously always been there to support. And the Agogo Henny is not on this list. That's why I said it's not the full blown list. I actually showed this to somebody, to my father's personal assistant, and he said it's not the full list. And he said the Agogo Henny ranks higher than some of these chiefs. Not my place to say, uh, but basically, this is a glimpse of what it normally looks like when they are assembled.
So
Right now,
do you know when they have these assemblies and the reason for these assemblies?
I do not. Sometimes it's based upon whatever events that the Ashanti Annie has. I know sometimes during the Kwesi Day or certain Kwesi days that they all of them do come and assemble, and they do have their own sections. If the chief themselves cannot make it, they will send somebody as a representative in their place.
And
Uh,
and is this taking place in Kumasi
in
proper?
yes, yes, in Kamasi.
Okay. So everybody's coming to Kumasi where the Asante Henny is. Okay.
Yes. So these photos are, again, this is my father swearing oath to Nana Pokuwari the second. This is, again, previously, as I said before, that he had a separate ceremony for his installment in Agogo, but as a paramount chief, he has to swear oath to the Ashanti Henny as well. So this is photos of him swearing the oath to the Ashanti Henny. And it'll all make sense and it all ties in together. So again, bear with me. That's him swearing the oath, picking up the knife, putting it down. This is Nana Pokuwari, the previous Otunfo. Uh, sorry, the Tunfo Nana Pokewari. That's the previous Ashanti Henny, whom my father swore on oath to. And again, just bear with me, it'll all make sense and tie into each other. And I came across these photos once again because my father's working on his memoir. So this is from 1976. So my father was installed in Agogo in December 1975. A month later, he had to come swear an oath to the Ashanti Henny in 1976, January 1976. This is a two from Pokewari congratulating my father and then celebrating the conclusion. I'll go back to the previous slide. I won't be too quick. We good? I can move on? All right. So the history of Chiefs traveling to New York. It kind of starts off with a timeline that all kinds of rolls into each other. But it starts off in 1968. Ghana's ambassador to the U.S., Ebenezer Moses Deborah, and the previous Gogo Henny, my great uncle, Nana Kwikudria, visited the Buffalo AKG Art Museum in New York in December 1968. This was kind of like the uh, first chief sort of to kind of come to a museum and actually donate art to a museum. And again, it seems like it's doesn't make sense, but it'll come together. So my great uncle Nana Kwikudria, he donated a stool to the Buffalo Art Museum, and thus kind of uh, starting the process or the inclusion of Shanti artwork and implements being brought into museums and things of that nature. This is Nana Kwikudria pouring libation at the museum. Right. And so basically, this is like a timeline of the chiefs that have like traveled to America, right? So it started with the previous Ogoga Henny being involved with the museum. And in 1971, Nana Yao Boateng, the Dada Sobeheni of Ghana, actually came with Nana Yao Zulu, with Nana Puya Parabia to kind of guide Nana Yao, Nana Zulu into and just giving him more knowledge about how to be a chief and things of that nature. It's actually from Nana Zulu's book. Um, I actually came across it. I'm gonna say by accident. You know, the ancestors speak, and obviously want to give props to Nana Boateng. That was kind of the start of the Khans in America being introduced to uh, the Ashanti kingdom, so to speak. Right, and then an excerpt from the book. Nana Yao says Nana Parabia came to see the home of her family in America to assist us in spreading the religion. 1973 marked the year she came with Nana Yao Boateng, the Dada Sobeheni, one of the paramount chiefs of the Ashanti Jasi clan. He also came to visit the shrine and to strengthen the development of the chieftainship and law to the shrine. As a result of the cooperation of Nana Parabia and Nana Zulu, another first event was having to bring a young priest by the name of Nana Kuya Chedwa. So that was kind of like the first introduction of the economy of America being introduced to like the Ashanti chieftaincy. So obviously word spreads, words gets around, but it wasn't necessarily officially the start. It was kind of the breadcrumb, the domino effect to actually start the actual process. Right. So then 8 years later, again, it seems like I'm going around the block, but bear with me. Uh, London had a Kingdom of Gold museum exhibit. It was pretty famous, became pretty popular, and as a result, uh, it featured the most of the pieces in that gold exhibit were from the Ashanti Kingdom. Nana Pokuweri actually requested those items to be returned. London said no, unfortunately, and as kind of like a compromise, they started the Kingdom of Gold exhibit in London, and that done so well. The exhibit had was so popular that uh, New York wanted to open up the same exhibit here. Um, so in 1980, the Ashanti Henny Atunfo Pokowari the second opened an Ashanti Kingdom of Gold exhibit at the Museum of Mankind in Piccadilly, London. It was an Ashanti cultural extravagant affair. The full pomp and pageantry of Ashantimen was put on display for all to see. The exhibition was so successful that the city of New York desperately wanted to have a similar one of their own. Consequently, at the invitation of the American Museum of Natural History and Mayor Edward Koch. This is via the acona.org, which is the uh, Ashantimen organization here in America. That's the website. It's part of the biography. So that kind of started the ball rolling that Tunfo Pokurari was coming. So they wanted to take advantage of that by starting their own Ashanti nation, so to speak, here because they knew he was coming eventually because the exhibit was coming, right? And so because the previous Agogo Henny or the Agogo Henny has already had experience or has been to America before, my father was actually chosen to be sent in um, ahead of time, and that's how things started. Um, but I'll let you hear what he says directly from horse's mouth. 1 second, can y'all see that as well?
Yes, Asamoah.
Okay,
Thank you.
1 second. Apologies. This is a documentary based on Nana Kofi Tudo. Again, he's been kind of mentoring me and guiding me through this. He's the one who kind of filled in the gaps because originally he was a part of a sort of sect, and that's how he met my father to become the actual divisional chief.
Is this
And he,
supposed to be a video?
yes, it is. I'm pausing
Oh,
it. I'm
we
introducing
don't
it.
see the video. We only see the establishment of Asante Mine in New York.
Okay, 1 second. Hmm, was not sure. 1 second. Give me 1 second. There we go. All right, now can you see that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So again, this is uh, a documentary on Nana Kofi Tuda and his group, Ashanti Kunum Kurum. He is the Nkombaheni of Agogo. He's the one who's actually been filling in the details for me. He's been helping me and guiding me and explaining everything to me. Because obviously I wasn't born yet, but he was the one who kind of explained to me that how my father met Deni Zulu, which was also the same story how he met Shakem Shakem. Nana Kofi Tuda was actually part of a set before he joined the Akans or became a Akan. So this is a documentary based on him, but there was some details and information that kind of fill in the gaps and kind of explained what exactly happened and how all these things came about. I'm not gonna. It's an hour long. I'm not gonna go through the whole hour, but there are some key points I'm gonna fast forward to. Can you confirm you guys can hear this as well?
No, you can't hear it.
You can't hear it.
No,
Are you playing?
Do you hear it playing when I play it? No.
nope.
Weird. Okay.
You have to make sure that when you share your screen, you also share audio.
Absolutely. Okay.
So when you go back to share your screen,
Ah, I
you go
see
to
it.
advanced. Mhm.
There we go. Okay. All right. Let's try this again.
And support on the formation of the Asante.
Confirm you can hear that before we move on.
Yes.
Now we can. Thank you.
All right, there we go. Again, this is a documentary based off Nana Kofi Tuda. But again, some of this information applies to us. So I'm only going to play the parts that do apply to us. So I want a documentary. You can also check out his website at ankvictorytown.com. But for now, let's just focus on this one tidbit.
Somehow you have to reshare the screen. I don't see the screen anymore. Oh no, I see it now. Never mind.
Yeah. We good?
Yes, Nana, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Way back in 1982, I was dedicated by the Otumfo Opokware II to represent him precisely in New York. The scientists in New York had opened the Asante Association, and they were instituting Asante Fohinen. That is the chief of the Ashantis in New York. And I was to represent him and outdooring him. After the event, the Asante Society invited me to join them in touring some parts of the United States. And we went to Philadelphia. And for the first time, I met a gentleman who is presently the Nkabomhini Nana Truda. He met me and impressed me as a man.
So, let's see, in the second part, it's right here.
Someone, Paucho, can
Yes,
you
sir.
put in the website so that people can actually see the video later on, please? Or if you can
Yes.
put that up and then I'll type it in for you.
I put it in the group chat.
Thank you.
Okay. And
Gogohema express.
apologies. This is also an excerpt from the current Agogo Hima of Agogo Nana Fakoma Sewa Kusla Wadum. My auntie, she was actually around during the time we were we were welcoming and things of that nature. She was originally from Brooklyn. She was there. She was friends with my mother. She was friends with everybody and kind of knew all the people in New York and things of that nature. So she was actually, before she actually became the Queen Mother of Ogogo, she was actually amongst us briefly, but yet nonetheless, she was still amongst us. And, you know, here's her excerpt, her words directly from her experience, her
Her personal experience over the years with the brothers and sisters of Philadelphia as they moved through the process to arrive at the realization that they are Akans and Asante.
Before 82, na papa bi friend Nana Dumba Ewa.
Since 1982, Nana Edum Bewa gathered all Asantes to form an Asante clan, and that made the Americans notice our traditional cloth and our cultural traditions and became interested to learn our culture. Nana Sapon was elected to open an Asantemai association in Philadelphia, Manhattan, and Queens. In Queens, the Lazulu and Shekum decided to become priests.
It's an Asapon dear since 1982, and we adapted one more do mo bagana ba agogo. Ebe church room amania.
Again, you can see the rest of this documentary. It's over an hour long, but that is her perspective on how that came about. She was her dates was a little off. Again, obviously, because in 1971, Nana Perry de Zulu was already. So I keep calling Nana Yao, Perry de Zulu, and Nana Kuya Parabia was already here establishing a comb here. So I mean, her dates is a little off, but you know, in at least I give her props for at least mentioning it. Even though it was a whole separate documentary, she indeed wanted to mention it and see how important it was and how it was important to her as well, because she was there for all of that. But we was already, not say we, but the culture was already here. The shrine was already here. We was already living that life. It was just more so of Akans in America being more involved with the Ashanti aspect of not just Akon, but Ashanti culture, right? So that kind of was the start of it. Again, her dates was a little wrong, but it was more so of incorporating us as like Akans of America into the Ashanti nation around the same time that they was making or installing an Ashanti or New York version of Ashanti Henny. So due to that, again, you know, Shaken, you know, met my father at that particular event and then decided to bring him around and started to see how there was already ATRs here and wanted to, I guess, empower us or just guide us or just help, you know, to assist, you know, because we was already here. Everything was already established. Everything was already, you know, my mother was at Oyen Tunje in the 60s and 70s and migrated up here to New York. So ATR is already here, but it was more so how can we give them a place or give them something that's to help the cause, because we was already here doing the work, living the life, living the lifestyle, and things of that nature. But it was just more so to actually incorporate us into that as well. So another excerpt from the Akona.org website. It's also important to note that prior to Otufo's historic visit, Ashantis in New York, Canada, and other parts of the United States of America were coming together to form associations. 1981, New York inaugurated the association, successfully organized a swearing-in ceremony that made Nana Kwadwo Otufor the first Ashanti Fuheni. In 1982, Canada ratified a draft constitution that brought Ashanti together and ushered in the Ashanti Canadian Multicultural Association of Toronto Incorporated. The idea for the formation of the association, however, was born in 1981 and 1983 with the blessing of Otumfo. The first inauguration traditional swearing-in ceremony was organized, making Nana Usuba the first Ashanti Fuheni of Canada. So Otumfo wasn't necessarily there. I mean, whatever. They didn't mention my father on the site, but that's fine. but my father was there representing Otunfo. So in their eyes, it was still the same thing, which was, he was there to complete a mission on Otunfo's behalf. He saw what we was doing here and was inspired to actually further or utilize or further incorporate a Council of America into the Ashanti Council as well. So that's basically how Nana Yao, Paridu, Denizulu became Samoa Henry, and how Shaken received the Epo stool around that same time, around 1983, 83, 84. Right, and these are the list of the offices of the Ashanti Council of North America, which was kind of the start of making chieftaincy an international thing, right? Now it's like a worldwide diaspora of chiefs, right? So, and because of that, the National House of Chiefs were created. On the left, when somebody's installed as a divisional chief, they're supposed to be given a certificate, and it's recognized by Ghana's National House of Chiefs. So although the national and regional houses are dominated by citizens of Ghana, they are also affiliated with foreign nationals, right? Again, shouts out to Nana Kofi Tuda. He actually showed me and sent me his certificate of chieftaincy. The date that was approved, you can see to the left, 12/21, 23, the serial number, the actual title, the area, traditional area, town, village, or go-go. On the certificate, it also says, his name, his shrine name, or Ashanti name, Nana Kofi Tuda. I kept that as private name. I didn't want to put him on blast. So I blurted out his personal, his government name, out of respect. But again, right, it's a whole certificate that you're supposed to receive. It's not just something that you receive the stool, you pay money and you just, do the ritual and you get the stool and that's it. No, you actually are supposed to be registered in the National House of Chiefs and receive a certificate stating that you are indeed a chief. And this is somebody who's American born, right? So it's not nothing small. It's closing the loop on things, right? This is what could have been had it in. This is a man that's descended of slaves. His grandparents were slaves or enslaved. They're not were slaves, but were enslaved. And to come back to the motherland and be involved and to receive an actual certificate stating that he's officially recognized not just by the House of Chiefs but Ghana's government as a divisional chief. It's a major thing, and it's not to be taken lightly. It's another form of Sankofa, but it's also the effort of the Ghanaians and Ashanti men practicing Sankofa as well, right? It's them coming back to receive us as well as us going back to receive our original culture that was taken from us. Any questions? Before I move on?
Yeah, I have some questions, but I want you to go through your presentation before.
Okay. Okay. Don't lose it. Okay. Right. So because of chieftaincy becoming an international thing, right? Ghana's government kind of started a government position in 1992. So under John Jerry Rawlings, John Jerry Rawlings, who became president in 1992, as a result of chieftaincy being an international thing, they created the actual government position to kind of keep track of it all, right? So now there's a National House of Chiefs. In Ghana, it's a constitutional body that operates under the Ministry of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. It's established by the 1992 Constitution. because that's around the time Ghana was coming out of its like fifth coup, and John Jerry Rawlings became the president, and the Chieftaincy Act in 2008. The military's role is to facilitate linkages between the government and traditional authorities, and the National House of Chiefs serves as the key body in matters concerning chieftaincy. Obviously, point of privilege, because of my father's role. He was actually Ghana's first Minister of Chieftaincy Affairs, serving from 1992 to 1993. That kind of established that government position. It was later changed to Minister of Chieftaincy Affairs and Religious Affairs because, to be honest, you can't be a chief without involving religious affairs. We could try to, but again, we know, real ones know that the stool got to be fed regardless, All right, so now, which brings us to the Ashanti Kingdom of Gold, right? Which I brought up before. This originally was the beginning, what I thought was the beginning, but it wasn't. Nana Kwesi had asked Nana Adjua how did my mother meet my father, and she mentioned around the timeline it was this event. Obviously, that couldn't be the case because I was born literally like 9 months after this. Why do I bring this event up? Obviously, if y'all pay attention to a Konkese group, I have posted these pictures, and these are actually pictures on the actual American Museum of Natural History's archives. So not only are we making history as a continent America, we are indeed a part of American history, right? So because of my father coming to facilitate the Ashanti men here in New York and throughout the U.S., Nana Dene Zulu and the Akans of America were actually chosen to lead the procession for the Nana Tufo Operi Woku. I'm messing his name up. Give me a sec. Nurse. Nana Pokuweri, when he finally came 4 years later after the original Kingdom of Gold exhibit in London, it was actually Nana Dene Zulu and the Akans of America led the procession for that parade in Central Park. And this is a picture of, Tunfo come into the museum. And again, all these pictures I found them in the museum archives. And again, as you can see, this is Kamadi. And basically, I'd say us as a Akans America leading the procession. They didn't have to hire no drummers from Ghana. It was actually us as a Akans America leading the procession, drumming and performing live in Central Park and actually leading that parade. This is some other folks that you may recognize here. And this is Central Park, part of that whole event coming to a close, which kind of started everything, but basically it led us to this parade down Central Park. I see there's some other people you may recognize. And I'll gladly send the pictures and send a link to this to these pictures as well. More of us. See more people. Oh, they're going on a crazy argument. And I wanted to end this photo or end this presentation with It's actually Nana Yao from his book. Apologies, I forgot the title of it. It's upstairs in my room, but I'll definitely share it with you guys. But it's Nana Yao actually with the Ashanti Henny, and having direct access to it because of him being a stool through via Gogo, right? And it's also led to other things like found out that Yao Taya's father, Nana Kofi Tyus, he actually was commissioned to create a portrait for Nana Pokuwari that is actually still in the palace in Kumasi, right? So that kind of just started embedding Akans in America in the Ashanti world and bringing and actually making Black Americans chiefs. And as I mentioned in the previous presentation, most people don't know that Nana Yao Peregrine Zulu was actually one of the first, or no, correction, he was the first non-African born chief to be welcomed and to sit in on the actual council assembly in Ghana. So that's pretty much it. I got more slides to talk about Agogo, but does anybody have any questions? You could definitely
All right,
just open the floor.
so for me, so yeah,
Mhm.
I have a few questions in terms of like the big disconnect. At least I see it as a disconnect in terms
Mhm.
of if you go back and you say, well, the Asante Society was here,
Mhm.
and because they was here, in terms of their responsibility to us as people, since
Mhm.
Yao Paradini Zulu passed, and his son ended up taking over the chieftaincy. And then when his
Mhm.
son died, since we already had connection with them, where was the National House of Chiefs in terms of saying, hey, you need to put somebody in place for this particular position? And I'm asking these questions
Mhm.
because of what you're saying in terms of them being both a political and religious
Mhm.
overlap. So we have a comb here, we have the religious aspect that's been pretty well that's pretty well established and growing because of all the confos that are involved with it. But the whole chieftaincy part is like void. It's like a big, it's an empty, um, it's like an abyss. So
Mhm.
nothing's there in terms of there's no connection, there's no overlap at all in terms of what that is here in America. So my
Mhm.
question to you is, I mean, you have all these chiefs that you've located from all these different towns and cities and things of that nature. So
Mhm.
one, who's the person for New York? And then if they are from New York, why aren't we connected to those chieftaincy ships, which traditionally that would happen in Ghana? And I'm asking these questions not exp I'm not sure if you really have an answer for them, but these are some things that this research brings up now as a result.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I
You
mean,
want to stop
I don't
sharing? You want
know.
to stop sharing your presentation, or you got some more you're gonna go with?
I mean, I got some more, but I'll stop for now. But I mean, I don't really have an answer. I mean, though, I would say though, um, I mean, obviously, I was just born when all this stuff was happening. I mean, I think it's just more so an effort of maybe reaching out. I mean, because it seems like it's a steady network. I didn't know about it, and I'm sitting here living, my life and things of that nature. But I think it's more so of well, I don't want to assume, but I think more so we focus more on the religious aspect of things, and a lot of the other part of it was more so networking, right? I don't know what exactly that they do, what they don't do. I mean, in fairness, the previous website that they had up before, um, Kamadi was indeed involved because they have all his websites and all his links to all his material that he was archiving, and he was actually sharing it with them. And I can't speak from on that aspect. I mean, I could say again, when I went on when I come across my research, Shake 'em or Shake 'em is indeed supposed to be the liaison between chieftaincy here for America and the House of Chiefs in Ghana. So maybe we need to reach out to him, but
But you're saying that, but you have like the Chicago, you had the California, you had all those different chiefs for
Mhm.
those areas. So you're saying for all of North America, Shechem is supposed to be that liaison, or is that different? Or those people or those other
from
chiefs?
a government aspect. But I mean, I can't speak on it. I mean, in fairness, I could say again, brother Nana Kofi Tuda is actually more involved in both the aspects of religion and I would say networking and community building aspect and the religious aspect of it, right? But I can't speak for everybody else because he's actually the one who puts in work. He's actually well known in Philadelphia. He actually lets a convo come speak. My family have went and gone see him and visit him for a couple events. He holds events, networking events, community building events. He holds, Bembeys, Durbars, and Combs and things of that nature. And he's actually interested in, again, he started in a Soros set and embraces the Akan culture. Now, I can't speak for everybody else. I don't know if people didn't want to be involved. I don't know if, I know the previous New York Ashanti Penny had passed away. So maybe sometimes, when people pass on, things kind of wither out. And I don't know. I mean, all it takes is just one person to be interested and reach out. But again, what is it? What is the purpose of it all? But I mean, again, I can't speak for all of them. I don't know. I don't have an answer because I myself am left out of this too because I didn't know. I didn't know there was like a whole office or stuff like that. But I mean, it can start with just me visiting or you visiting or just reaching out. I mean, the website is there. I'll put it in the chat.
I think the thing is nobody knows, and then they haven't made any effort to even connect us to them on that level. So that's why I'm saying that. Like, okay, you brought forth this research,
Mm.
and you have a whole plethora of information that's saying that there's some well-established chieftaincy shifts here. We on this end of practicing the traditions from the spiritual side more so than from the political side. And like I said, it's two ships passing in the dark. So,
Mhm.
you know,
I mean, you do have some people who are putting in the work. Um, but again, there's also, no one goes no trouble, but sometimes people just want to wear cloth and look pretty and dance and just do that and not necessarily focus on the community building aspect of it all.
okay.
Okay,
I was
so Paucho, I have a question. Um, what are we doing? What can we do now moving forwards in regards to the now that we're aware of how and what chieftaincy is, what
Mhm.
can we do now moving forwards to establish something here to where it's going to be concrete in the different communities in the US? And also too, is it really going to be accepted or and respected by the Americans
Yeah,
here?
yeah. Well, I mean, it can be. I mean, I think what we're doing right now is enough, right? I mean, to be again, some people are, how Ghanaians are. Like they want to talk about one aspect and not necessarily accept the other aspect. And the other aspect is the actual spiritual part of it, right? A lot of people are just, again, some people just want to. I'm not gonna say that. No, no, never gonna
It
get in
just
trouble.
goes against the tradition, is what I'm saying, in terms of it's
Right, but
the whole thing.
but we already know that a lot of people, a lot of chiefs are in denial about it, right? There's some people are just Christians and they're just chiefs, and then they have somebody else feed the stool and all this other stuff, and they just want to
So the whole ancestral part, because if you're a chief and you're supposed to have the stew houses where you get the blackened stews and all that type of stuff, I mean, that's serious business. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
but there's somebody, there's always somebody else to do the not dirty work, but the underlying work of it all. But again, I mean, I don't have a problem reaching out and seeing what's up. I've actually shot a message, but again, some people may not be open-minded to the fact that there's a whole Acom and priest community here. And the ones who put it like this, all right, I'll say this, right? I can say in fairness, right, that the Black American chiefs are more aware of the Akan's spiritual aspect and the religious aspect of it all, more so than and I don't want to generalize, but more so than the Ghanaians. Because I've met other people who are so-called chiefs, and it's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, it is a discussion to be had. But on the flip side of that, I don't expect anything to change immediately. I think the people who are aware, and the people who aren't just don't care. And then we have to leave them what it is, because again, all of this, we're not just doing all of this just to sit and look pretty. It's part of it is to be revolutionary, right? Is to close the loop and close the we go back and retrieve what was taken from us, but also to heal our people, to change the minds of our people, and to raise the mentality, the mental, spiritual, and physical aspects of our people. But then, again, some people just want to sit pretty. And again, I don't know what it is. It sounds like a solid network. I looked at the website. Some of them are like district attorneys, and it's just more so about networking. But how serious do they take it? I mean,
okay. We have a question in the chat.
mm,
I'm a NCA Forwa. Who's
oh,
the
she was
current
asking who's the
who's
current
the current
minister of
chieftaincy?
chieftaincy. I actually had that written down, and I flew by it. But let me look it up.
And then the Confo, do you want to say what you said? Do you want to take yourself off mute? And
Yeah, sure. Greetings, everyone. Yeah, no, first, I definitely appreciate your presentation, Asama. Like, very, very good presentation. I think seeing all the photos and hearing the history, always kind of contextualizes a lot of things that we've been experiencing. So I really appreciate your presentation. In terms of this conversation, like, it's a conversation that happens in a lot of different spaces about trying to bring a larger order to what we're doing, the institution of the Ohene, Ohema and things of that sort. I think one of the things, I think sometimes we jump the gun in terms of reaching for like the Ohene and Ohema position, not overtly recognizing that the reason that those positions are able to, one, have such longevity, two, have such influence and position is because it's fundamentally built on the familial institutions, the school on a larger scale and on a smaller scale, right? And that is what gives it this, this ability, this influence, and this power. So I think going for Yamachi asks, basically like in terms of reestablishing this, like do the folks would the folks in America even recognize or like respect, right, the institutions or this institution that we're trying to build on the basis of a traditional chieftaincy. Part of it, in order for that respect to be given, I think is through the restructuring and the reestablishment of a very clear familial order. I think one of the things when we look at our home here in America, everyone's family structure is different in terms of how they understand family, how the literal family structure is built. And so in terms of like just even the order and process of family, like it's very diverse. And I think that presents some challenges when it comes to us being able to organize on a larger level, right? In terms of what we're doing as icons in America and things of that sort. I think part of the question of the reestablishing the chieftaincy is also coming from like how do we fundamentally reestablish and provide a very clear order and structure for our Khan families, and we want to center it just on our Khan families and our Khan families in America, so that then when we come together and we say, okay, we would choose, this person will be elected to sit in this position as Doheny of whatever, in conjunction with, what's going on in our Google or any other part of our science, it'll take a very different structure. And then also, last thing I would say, the transmission of it across generations will be a lot stronger as well. Right, the ability for it to maintain through various generations it'll have stronger, it would have a deeper ability to sustain itself over time.
So, Okonfo, one of the things with the Comb Kessie we've talked about, or is our hope as an organization. That was one of the reasons why we actually helped to establish the Council of Elders, and hopefully their work will reach out to dealing with the foundational part of the family. So everybody in their family has a big mama and a big papa, right? Everybody has that. That person essentially is the Busia Panyin for that particular family. So we as an Akan community, we're from all over different places and we have all different backgrounds, but the one thing that holds us together is that we're all bonded together loosely as dealing with the religion for the most part. So if we're all coming together and this is just a pattern, like, okay, if you from your family, who's the Busia Panyin from your family? Who's the Busia Panyin for my family? Who's the Busia Panyin for a Samoa family? All those Busia Panyins come together, they end up forming a council of elders. From those council of elders are able to say, okay, you're the person that's going to be the head of this clan that we form. So we have, I believe, pretty much all the fundamentals in terms of being able to do it. The question is, how do we want to integrate the Ghanaian side of that when we have a lot of the pieces already, and it becomes a matter of organizing what that looks like for us here in America. And I don't think the conversation is taking place because one, people just probably aren't aware of it, and so much emphasis has been put on the religious aspect of it. And I think now we're starting to look more at the other side of this, although it was something that people have been aware of, but not much attention has been paid to it. So even with the Council of Elders that we help establish, we're telling people use the Council of Elders to handle your business and stop going to the white man courts to deal with your internal affairs or with your family concerns and things of that nature. So part of this is a mindset, and part of it in terms of being generational. I mean, it's a lot of work that got to be done on that level, but we can definitely start in terms of doing that.
But on the flip, we also can't force the issue either, right? Like we have to.
No, nothing is ever forced. Nothing is.
Right. But I think it just might be a situation where we need to, again, focus on um, empowering people and letting know that's an actual option in being like a chief or leader and things of that nature. Um, um, but I will say though, I will reach out to them, starting of course with the one in New York and Connecticut, and you know, I will see and report back and see if anything worth bringing up. Again, I shared the website. I saw the website. I will reach out to some people there and etc. And maybe I'll start a conversation with some folks and see how they feel about being more embedded into our side of the culture.
I'm interested to hear other people's thoughts are behind this in terms of what chieftaincy would look like here in America, and then how we can go about doing that, what we would do in terms of going back doing that.
Mm. I mean, also, I think it's just, I think in fairness, right, there's also many people who are in the culture who also exude those capabilities, right? And, we just never really, approach them about it. Maybe it's something to actually bring up. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But there are people, I would say, in fairness, there are people who are in the community um, who kind of exude that, you know? And there's more so to maybe reach out to them and not just focus on one aspect of the culture. Right? And that's not just, it's not even just chieftaincy, it's really all the positions too, right? It's just a lot of the times, it's just making those positions available.
No, I think it's part of like if you're organizing yourself and and you're creating an organization, then within that organization and structure, one, everyone's agreeing that okay, this is the organization that we're a part of and this is the structure. So there has to be a level of acceptance from the people in terms of what this organization is, and then them following the protocol that's actually been established for this organization.
Okay with you, I'm taking your eye to the light, okay? No problem, go right ahead. Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, that's the first day.
No, coach.
So everything was blurred. Okay. Extremely blurred. They said it might have been the medication. Okay. So gradually, it's better.
This person, 1 second.
I into the light.
Hold on. Let me see.
I
No, coach, you up?
I muted.
Okay. All right. All right. Anybody have any thoughts on this? Oh, it's 8 o'clock already. Dang.
Not about your it's me, Akuya PSA. I have a question, and I want to very carefully state it. But I've wondered this for some time. When we talk about having chieftaincy in America, I wonder, like, what are the chiefs the chief of? Would it be the chief of Akom? Would it be the person that's responsible for making sure that we have connection to the things that we need, like animals, when there's a shortage or when it's trouble finding certain drinks that we have trouble finding? Is it the person that's going to, like, what is the benefit of that leadership in America? Like, what is the purpose that we serve? I know in Agogo, the chief is responsible to make sure that all of the students have somewhere to study. They have to make sure that the roads are good and safe for travel. They are settling disputes. Yeah, they are, like, taking care of the people. And so how does chieftaincy look in the United States? What is the purpose?
So it would be exactly what you're saying. It is the chieftaincy was established based on the needs of the people. So if that is having an Obrafo Henny who would deal with all the animals and the sacrifices and making sure the people have those things that they need, or the families as well, in terms of that, then that's what it'll be. So right now in Ghana, you have the Insumakwa, no, it's called a developmental chief. I think it's called Insumakwa Henny or something. Is that what it is? The development chief?
Cultural Henny?
Coastal Henny. So the Ghanaians are very clever in terms of they'll give you a position and say this is the responsibility of your position in terms of what that is. So you have all these American people who are being made development chiefs. And as a development chief, your goal is to bring resources back to that town and village in terms of developing it. That's not a traditional title. That's something that was created in order to meet the needs of the people. So the chieftaincy here in America will do the exact same thing. What are the things that we need in order for us to move smoothly? So if you need someone that's just dealing with animals, if you need someone that's just, say, dealing with funerals, if you need someone that's just dealing with training of a confos, we would create that, but we as a community are going to decide what those things are moving forward for the development of chieftaincy in this area. So it's how we organize it and what do we need. And you've identified some of the needs that we need as a community. And maybe it could be someone that's just a resource for helping our kids get into college and graduate college. Or maybe it could be someone that's a resource for helping the families dealing with some of the things that they're dealing with. We're the ones that's going to determine what those positions look like based on our needs. It's not duplicating what's exactly in Ghana.
Lupacio Nanas, I just want to ask, the chiefs that are already established from years ago, say with the Nana Dinizulu or other chiefs,
Yeah.
and how do they fit into this proposal that you're looking at now? Because they've already been established for years, and maybe not just here in New York, but across the country as well as I see in Canada. So how do they integrate into, and how do they also work to do to fulfill the job of their title that they were given some years and years ago?
You
How?
talking about, you talking about the ones here in America or the new
Yes,
ones?
yes,
So
yes.
like with Nana Kwesi Agyeman,
Yeah, because if we're looking to establish and we're reaching out to the Ghanaian, say the ministry, how are they going to respect what we have been doing all along as far as the chieftaincies that have been set up here in America, Canada, and can we do, I mean, can it be integrated? Because you have so many people that we know some people here in the States because we've been, I mean, excuse me, in New York, because we've been dealing with them just about all of our con lives. But there's so many people all over the United States that have titles. So how do we now come together? I know there was a lot of work that even came together to do the Council of Elders. So now how do we do this political part of integrating into the Ghanaian fold? Thank you.
that a question for me or that's a question for someone?
I'm sorry. It's a question for whoever can answer it.
Um, I guess how do we do it? We take a step, take one step. It starts out with reaching out. Um,
I,
so
I guess my question is for people, for the Okonfos in particular. I mean, if
mhm.
you have a chief that you're supposed to fall under, are you going to respect that chief? Are you going to respect this is the person that this shrine is under now? Because in all those towns in Ghana, you have the Okonfos that are there, but those Okonfos are in some village and they all have to go to the chief even before they get their stuff established. So here is the reverse. These Okonfos are already established for the most part, and now you're putting in a chieftaincy that supposedly say the chief of Queens or the chief of Brooklyn or the chief of DC or whatever it is,
Mm.
have these Okonfos that are there, and this person, they're supposed to report to that person. Would they respect that? And would they do that if you're talking about bringing order to what we practice here? And it also provides a level of accountability. Nananayo?
Greetings, everyone. This is a very, very important conversation. I To answer Auntie Akuya's question, I think that it raises a good point. Um, living here in America, I'm not even familiar with how many chiefs are actually in place. And so I think identifying them, identifying what their roles are, um, and how they are currently being of service would be very helpful. Um, Nana Kwesi, to answer your question, having trained in Ghana, um, in order to train to be an Okomfo in Ghana, part of your training and your graduation is that you have to go to the chief and the chief has to give the blessings, right? Um, in that particular village that you train to. I think I know that for me, I can't speak for anyone else. I know that for me, um, there is a lot that we still need to learn about the culture, the tradition, and the chieftaincy and that structure, um, that I would need to learn, not we, that I would need to learn to even be able to speak on this. Because seeing something from the outside and actually being inside to understand the underworkings, understanding how the institution is put together. This is a very ancient institution, right? Nothing is done haphazardly. And I think it would be foolish to think about trying to implement something here without the proper mentorship and guidance and the connection to the root. The purpose of doing this and what we are learning today is uh, the chieftaincy that already existed was connected to something else, right? Connected to our root. And I think it's important that if there is a need, there is a calling, that there is a connection to that root. Also considering though that we are now beyond one town in our connections as a Confos in America. We are beyond one region, right, in our practice. And so many people are already obligating and beholding to chieftaincy already in Ghana. And it does not mean that there's not room for more, but I do think that whatever is thought about and put in place, it needs to be done in a way where, like this concept of, um, a cons in America. I know that many times we're looking for a certain level of identification, but to me, it feels very isolating in that our tradition is still very much grounded in Africa, right? Um, I only know of two spirits that have identified themselves being here in America that have actually possessed people. So if our spiritual practice is very much rooted on the motherland, this idea of trying to separate out chieftaincy away from the roots of the shrine to me is still something that I would need to have a better understanding in order to understand the purpose of why we would be doing that when in Ghana, that is the way the structure is established. Another thing is that there was conversations around why, especially as people pass away, what happens next and how come um, elders haven't come to the people to figure out, what they need or what is going on. Um, I have found that the communication has to go both ways. And again, with the idea of isolating ourselves, it can be quite detrimental. I know that in my practice, when I need certain herbs, I have to go to Ghana and get them. When I need certain items, I have to go to Ghana and get them. So we are not at a level to be self sufficient to even think about that, nor do I think that we should encourage that because Africa needs us as much as we need Africa. Um, and yeah, I think that's all I want to say on that point. But I just want us to think very, very mindfully as we're thinking about it. I do think organization and the establishment of organization and structure is very important. I'm just a little concerned about, this idea of trying to isolate it or even starting at the head when we're very much still at the root, trying to make sure that our roots are strong, our processes are strong, and really thinking about a lot of things. I love what you said, Nana Kwesi, about the elders in each of the house and really setting up that structure so that the individual needs can be heard and that there is a forum and there is a place and there is a gathering and there is a communal level of support. But I'm just not yet sure if we need to be looking for another Oh My Henny of Akans in America with such great diversity existing, thriving, and growing here. Um, so that's just my input.
So one of the things in response to what you're saying, I agree with 100% of a lot of the things that you're saying. Um, I also think though, in terms of because we live in this environment, and although most of our traditions and the things that we're doing are going back to home, in this instance, Ghana, um, we need to know our environment very well in terms of the herbs, the roots, and the things of that nature, so that the medicines that we have here will work for us. And I think that is part of, I think, the issue in terms of being a disconnect, because we're in a different environment. Ghana is two seasons, rainy and dry, hot all year round, right? So in terms of us being connected to our environment, I think that plays a critical role in terms of us being able to do. And when I say because you use the word being independent from them and you have to go back and get your medicines and things of that nature. But as in the Konfo, if you have your Bosum, you should be able to be independent, because your Bosum here would be able to guide you on the things that you need in order to be able to do the work. But I'll give you a prime example. In Ghana, they got land dispute Bosum shrines specifically for that, right? We don't have that here. We don't have shrines that you would need to deal with those types of situations. So, I mean, so Ghana definitely is the template for a lot of the things that we're doing, but and you're right, we're babies in this in terms of where we're doing and what we're moving in terms of organization. But there's a lot of work to be done on both sides in terms of us, one, getting the correct information that we need so that we can be independent. So if I go to Ghana and they're saying, oh, we use this medicine to treat this disease, as in the Confo, and I can be like, oh, yeah, we have something similar like that in America that does the same thing. That's showing us independence. And that's also showing us our connection to our shrines in terms of the work that we're doing as a confos here in this land. And we're not there yet. There's a big gap between getting there in terms of what we need to be able to do. But I totally agree with the things that you're saying.
Dr. Faucho, I just want to piggyback off of what you were saying as far as their shrines that deal with land disputes in Ghana. So, being the fact that this environment is not like Ghana, as you stated before, they have the seasons and they have the reasons of certain bosums in particular areas. Um, in this hemisphere, um, has anybody, though confos, have anybody have a shrine for racial injustice and the things that us Black Americans deal with that they a lot of Ghanaian people don't know about
Mhm,
what we go through,
mhm.
and even if there are, Akoto, yeah, please stop. Okay, baby, I'm coming. Um, so even if there are chiefs that are taking certain positions, we have to be mindful of the issues that Black Americans here have dealt with and still is dealing with. As far as you know work discrimination, finances, housing with redlining, all of those things have to be included, to my perspective, into any chieftaincy that is going to be established here. So it goes beyond the culture of Ghana, especially befitting what we need to survive here on this land. Is there a shrine for that can deal with the dispute of taxes, and things like that? So we have to be mindful of what it is that we need to survive on this land.
I need to bring that up. Maybe not. Maybe we just need to bring it to the shrines in order to become acclimated to those kind of things. And to be fair, Ghanaians go through that too once a year too. Maybe not as much, you know what I mean? But yeah. I mean, I think to speak on to go backtrack a little bit. I think more so the chieftaincy, the chiefs here are more so here for like networking and things like that. Because again, most of the chiefs.
So they're networking for themselves, or they're networking for I mean, if the chief's supposed to be a servant of the people, what are they networking? What's the network?
I mean, I reached out to them. I haven't necessarily had time to delve into what exactly that they're doing, what's the purpose of it all. But I could definitely follow up and get back to it. I spoke to the guy who runs the site or runs the organization, or the main secretary of it all, and I'll definitely reach out and see what they say. But again, in fairness, there are other chiefs who are aware of both aspects, both the political, or I won't say political, community building. Here again, Nana Kofi Tuda is one of them. Again, most of the information I got from this presentation was from him. And me and my sister and the rest of my Busia, we went to Philadelphia to actually, chop it up with him. I've known him on and off for 20-something years. And again, American born, he understands the struggle and actually is putting in the work. So there are chiefs out there who are both involved with the community as far as shrines and spirituality, in the community as far as like community building and things of that nature. I have put his website in the chat, so anybody can reach out. And if he's having an event, I'll let y'all know, and maybe we'll pull up the Philly and see what that's like. But I can't speak for the actual individual offices that well, the so-called New York Ashanti Henny. I can't speak for her.
Yeah, duties and responsibilities. So, okay, that's cool. Anybody else? I think there was a comment. Did you see the comment in the chat? I saw it pop up.
Yeah, I was Sessa. He said independence from the continent may not be the way to frame it, but we should have the power, knowledge to work thoroughly wherever we may be located. But that work we are doing must be interconnected to and interdependent on the continent. That's what Sessa was saying. Brother Dr. Sessa, sorry.
Dr. Sessa, congratulations again.
Dr. Sessa.
But
Okay.
yeah, it does feel like, again, what Nananaya was saying was that, with the passing of certain people, there's kind of a disconnect, or further cause a disconnect. Because again, from the previous website, it seems like Shekhem is still involved. Again, he's listed as the American representative of the Chiefs.
National. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. All right, it is 8:32 right now. Do you want to do the rest of the presentation you said you had?
Yeah, it's up to y'all, but it's only like 3 or 4 slides. I wanted to kind of pick up on the other things that I didn't get a chance to talk about in Agogo from my last trip. Just to also to point out, I'm also working on a documentary on my father. He's celebrating 50 years as chief of Agogo, the longest sitting chief in Agogo's history. The Grand Jubilee will be in December, before Christmas. I have not gotten an official date yet. Yeah, so I'm working on that documentary at this time. I'm trying to get funding. I'm speaking to producers. Um, I had a conversation with a producer from BT about it. I'm torn between financing it myself because certain people want their perspective on it. But I'll figure all that stuff out. But again, the Jubilee will be in December if anybody is interested. And speaking, not to be well, I'll bring that up later. Apologies. But that's going to close out my PowerPoint. Yeah, sorry. Apologies. Let me go back to screen sharing. What's not working? Okay, over here. All right. So I got more slides about Agogo. A little brief. It's not that much. Right. So I wanted to go back to Agogo. Just some more details just to share. Wanted to talk about the shrines of Agogo and how that plays into the overall aspects of a shrine being embedded in the land that works in tandem with the chief or the Omaneni. So in Agogo, the shrine is more like a public service. It's out in the open, it's public. It's faded, but if you look at my mouse here, you can see it's a Fremfie. The shrine, one of the main shrines there is Nana Frem, or Agogo Afrem in this particular. The shrine Nana Frem or Sual Frem is a very vast river, so it travels to multiple towns. So not every, but other towns have their own variation of the same shrine. It is the same shrine, but just different things, different tidbits about it. But particularly when we mention our Nana friend, from this particular region, we say Algogo our friend particularly. And this is our friend VA. Most of you may or may not know, part of Nana Deni Zulu's, I'm sorry, somebody said something in the chat. Apologies. Oh, the website doesn't exist anymore, but I'll send it anyway, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so this place was it was an infamous home 40 years ago. Nana Deni Zulu had brought a bunch of Akomfos from America to Fremfie. And it was an infamous home that happened 40 years ago. That's kind of the start and one of his duties as
Do you mean famous Acom or
yeah, it was a famous home because it was a
Okay,
big
yeah.
event.
Infamous has a negative
Infamous, famous. People from Agogo still talk about it to this day, right? Because that was like the first time that a group of that large of diasporans came to see them. And at that Akom, there was 3 Akomfos, and the shrine actually pointed to 3 Akomfos and said, all 3 are going to be pregnant, and it's going to be chiefs and boys. And I was one of those boys, but Again, and I'll backtrack to what happened to all of that stuff.
Do you know who the other two were?
Bonsu and from Nana Koshua and Kweku, Nana Kodia's son.
Oh, really? Okay, quick, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was a famous story. That story, he pointed to my mother, Nana Koshua, Nana Kodia, said all three of y'all gonna be pregnant and it's gonna be boys and they're gonna be chiefs. So that's like the famous story that ties all three of our fates together, or destinies together, I won't say fate. But yeah, so Nana Frem, that shrine specifically, or Ogogo Frem, is embedded in the land of Ogogo. In fact, most of the flatlands in Ogogo are named after the shrine, are called Frem Plains. There's also another town that actually has an Frem Plains because that river flows downward. And again, the shrine is kind of embedded in the land, right? I just want to give people a perspective of how much the shrine is incorporated in the land. Like, so when you lease a farm and you cut down the trees, before you can even plant a seed, there has to be a chief or a comfort to come pour libation on your farmland. And one of the shrine's main duties is to protect the chief and the citizens and the Ogogo environs. People come to the shrine to get healed spiritually, physically, and emotionally. Again, it's a public service. It's like right down the block. You know, you can walk in, make an appointment, or just sit and wait. So during our last trip, as you see, me and my beloved sister went to go visit the shrine and greet and say our piece there and get acclimated to the shrine. Right? This is not a bang. He's from a different town, but he has been supportive. He's also not our friend Makonfo, but from a different town. This is Cisco. He's the Abo Sunfo in Agogo. But I don't have any other pictures or references of Nana Frem coming down and possessing. But Nana Bang has been affiliated in supporting the people in Agogo and possessing Nana Frem and bringing the shrine there. Right? And about Nana Frem, right? Nana Frem is polygamous. He is married to several wives, including the rivers Anwam, Akoja, and Kari. As a result of these flings, it's not my words. It's I should have quoted the brother. Apologies. Has quite a number of children, including Samso, Yama, Dabi, Kwame, and Moa. He's a supreme adjudicator of all issues. Gogo Ephraim is also said to be the voice of the oppressed and renders his justice by punishing evil and exonerating the innocent. The source of the river Ephraim is at Papase near Agona. It's said to be from a mountain. And they said that river, or there's a waterfall, or that water falls into tiny drips from the mountain into a yawa at the bottom of that mountain before overflowing and running to form to such a massive big river. If you look at the Ghana map, you could type in on our friend, you see how large and vast that river goes and how many towns it hits. But this is like a little preview of Combe. It's an hour. I'll send the link. Can y'all hear that?
Yes.
Yep.
This is Nana Bang coming to a Combe at a go-go at our friend VA. Yeah, and I'll share the link. It's 50 minutes long, but I'll go through it. We'll see. Apologies. These drummers here, they do duty. They are also my father's drummers, but they also, again, they live in the shrine compound and drum for the shrine as well. So not only do they drum for my father, they also drum for the shrine professionally as well. So in this area, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse, but this door that's open, that's where the actual shrine is. In that area, they normally bring you in there to pour libation, to greet the shrine, and then they take you to the other rooms to bath and do all the other rituals and things of that nature. It's a very large shrine. It's covered. There's multiple shrines in that area, in that room. It has its own space, but the people live amongst the shrine. There's other rooms on that compound, and again, the people live amongst the shrine. Probably. As you see, Nana Friend is about to come out. Again, this is still a part of another good reference is to reference Dr. Sessa's presentation with Nana Kondo and Nana Trudibua about Ashanti Akom. Right? Agogo is in the Ashanti region, so it's still similar to Ashanti Akom. In fact, Nana Kondo actually said that he was actually in Agogo helping out with some work there, and thus making the world smaller than what it actually is. So, again, I'll send the video. If anybody's interested, I'll send the video. It's an hour long. All right, now we can wrap it up. Farm leases, I always bring the fact that if people are looking for opportunities, farm leases are 150 Ghana cedis per acre per year. Anyone in the Akan diaspora will get the full 99 years for land leases to build a house with the option to renew. Normally, non-citizens of Agogo normally get only 50 years. Cost for plots are around 8,000 Ghana cedis to 25,000 Ghana cedis, depending on location. Plots start at 100 by 70 feet. And the reason being that people in the Akan diaspora get the full 99 years is because of the oath at that famous Akom 40 years ago, where the shrine welcomed everybody, was very impressed and happy how people were coming back to dance in Akom, and really impressed everybody that my father was also inspired to say that all of the Akans in America are honorary citizens of Agogo. So it's just to say that, there's another town that was there to support us and support our efforts in Akom and furthering the culture here in America. And of course, my contact information, anybody can reach out to me. I'm here for you, etc., etc. And the website is thegogocitizens.org. Last time I checked, it wasn't working, but hopefully it'll get back up and running. But real quick, I wanted to bring up a thing that Nana and Niall said as far as people passing away and there's a gap or things being occurring and happening. So when I was born, again, it was a whole ritual done. I was in not so-called, I wasn't schooled at my outdooring. And as a result of that Akom and my mother giving birth to me, the Shrine on Our Friend actually came to America as part of that to kind of further develop the relationship with the Khans of America. I was supposed to apparently take over that shrine when I became old enough. As I outgrew that stool, my mother took that shrine and put the put the shrine on my stool. And I'm bringing this up because it's a point of it's an important piece to bring up because it's to be mindful of what exactly that we have, what we're doing, and to actually have a plan. And unfortunately, when my mom passed, during the time of mourning and confusion, legal battles and custody battles, someone had decided to take that stool and take that shrine. And unfortunately, that person wound up passing as well because particularly for a go-go friend, that shrine is really only really for to take care to be under the care of family members. And from what I understood is that it's a family shrine, but somebody who was not related to me had decided to take it, thus taking my stool and my shrine and my family shrine. Which was an unfortunate case. So I just say that to say this, that please be aware, have a plan. It's unfortunate. It's happened over 40 years, almost 30 years ago. It's about to be 30 years, but I just say that to say, like, just please have a plan, have a will or have a PDF file or something saying that this shrine goes to this person, this talisman goes to this person, and have somebody that you could trust who could run your estate and also be aware of what exactly that you're doing, what you have. Again, I don't want that experience for anybody. Again, my so-called spiritual items were taken from me. So again, I don't want that to happen to anybody else. It's unfortunate. That shrine was also here not to just help me, but also, again, part of helping the honorary citizens of Agogo, which is the Khans of America as well. So that opportunity was taken. It's unfortunate. I don't wish that on anybody. So I just pray, please have a plan. It's unfortunate that, this person came and my older sister, again, we was mourning. And this person took advantage of my older sister not knowing, my oldest sister not knowing, or not necessarily being involved or paying attention, and made up some kind of story and said that it was actually his and my mother's shrine. So again, I don't want that for anybody else. Just have a plan. Have a plan. And that's the end of my speech.
Nana Mapaucho, I
Mhm.
have a question in regards to the pricing as far as the land in Agogo,
Mhm.
if someone wants to farm.
Mhm.
Being the fact that there has been a price drop from American money going into CDs, and as you know, our teacher, Nana Kwame Amanfo, has informed us of the ratio of CDs to
Yeah,
American money.
it dropped
Does
from
that
15.
does
Oh no,
that does that price sorry does that pricing still stay? Is that like a standard pricing for all of
that's
us Black Americans?
yes, it's still the same.
Okay, so it doesn't change even if it's like 50 years from now.
But what do you mean by doesn't change as far as
The pricing for the land in Agogo to farm or do whatever it is that was stated.
150 CDs per acre.
per acre?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was $15 per acre. But
It's
now
gonna
it's
cost you more now, yeah, because of the CD is
the
dropped.
disease drop, right? Yeah.
150 CDs is gonna cost you more dollars, but the CD is stronger.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And if whoever's interested, I'll send them the number to actually inquire about. Um,
So when you gonna set the trip up, man, so we can go?
hey man, I told y'all December I'm going.
Yeah, you're going in December. I said, when you gonna slip
Listen.
your up so that we can go? You said you're going in
Y'all
December.
can come along.
Yeah, that ain't setting up a trip. That's you going.
Listen, y'all could come along. I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Well, it is 8:52. So we've been on this for almost 2 hours now. So I thank everyone who's hung out with us for this 2 hours. Thank you, Nana Samwa, for your presentation. I think your presentations bring more questions than answers. So it was some good information, but now we got some more questions. But I guess that's what happens when you're doing research. You always end up getting questions out of the stuff. You get answers, now you get more questions. So which is a good thing because we're continuously learning and bettering ourselves. So thank you for the information that's presented. Is there anyone that like to make any announcements or anything before we end this call today? Or anyone like to say anything in closing? Okay, don't be shy. We will actually, in a couple of weeks, we're gonna end up doing another presentation that talks about the protocol of a comb. It's gonna be free, so we're gonna end up doing a Zoom presentation that just talks about what's the protocol of a comb. Most people, and I don't know. I've been around it all my life, so it's normal for me, but don't know the elements that go on to a comb. So, for example, greeting songs, leaving songs, um, when you're coming into your comb, how you're greeting, who should be greeted, et cetera, et cetera. So, we're going to have a presentation open up to the community that talks about the elements of a comb and for what people should expect and know what's going on. So, all is welcome to attend and look out for the flyer in next couple of days. Nana Aquia, I think you had something you wanted to say.
Oh yeah, I was just saying, just wanted to thank you all for presenting and all the good information, all the questions and the input. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Have a safe weekend.
I put my contact information in the chat if anybody wants to reach out, have any more questions, discussions. Shoot me a message.
All right. Good night, all. Thank you.
Good night.